Hello, dear students. Welcome back to this wonderful platform where we have already started your preparation of the subject English language and literature. So, in this row today, the topics which we are going to cover from your poetry section one more time, the topics are a tiger in the zoo and how to tell wild animals, as these are interconnected because they are actually based on similar themes. So we are covering these two topics today. So let's start with our first one. The first one is A Tiger in the Zoo. It is composed by Leslie Norris. So kindly keep this in mind that yes, always, dear students, that poets are always important. So you need to learn, you need to remember the names as well. So why this poetry? As the title itself it is denoting, we are talking about, the poet is mentioning here a tiger here where it is in the zoo. Now before starting this poetry, it is actually a very thought-provoking one. Have you ever thought how selfish we are as human beings? Now why, dear students? Because I hope you know, most of the time we often keep such pets also in cage, and this is really a pathetic thing. Why? Because just look at their eyes. Do we have the right to restrict their freedom? Do we have the right to restrict other creatures' freedom like this? No. So this is the key aspect, and this is the value point, which is actually a question raised by our poet here. Now the poet, as we know that, now please remember the full name of the poet is George Leslie Norris, prize winner. Why? Because important thing is that most often he had written about the wars as well. Means post-war time, he is the most important writers of the post-war period. And this is the time, this is the year. In 1938, he had composed this poetry, A Tiger in the Zoo. So many short stories also he had actually published, and also biographies and reviews as well. Now let's start our poetry. First of all, before starting this, let me discuss the basic theme, though I have given you the idea. But the poem actually contrasts what? A tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. Dear students, kindly keep this value point in your mind, that here in this poetry, actually our poet is talking about the condition of a tiger actually here in the zoo, and next to which is there in the natural habitat, free. Yes, the freedom is the key aspect. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle simultaneously, because here the wonderful contrast also depicted, and back again to the zoo. So the poet wants to depict the difference between the two environments. I hope it is quite clear. Now next, it also depicts the what? The mental condition. Obviously, if someone is in the cage or someone in the natural surrounding, natural ambience, so two different mindset also referred here. And then he also compares the life of a tiger in the zoo with its life in its natural surrounding, natural habitat. Now poet also conveys, not only this, he also conveys an important message that the wild animals should be, yes, the true message here, should be in their natural habitat. We should not actually keep them in any cage. So in the poem, he heightens what? The contrast between the freedom. Now see the actual hidden message here, that between freedom and captivity, these two very striking value points, the key aspects raised by our poet. So let's get started with the lines. Now the first stanza, the line which is actually here starting like this, he stalks. Now first question is arising, who is he here? He means tiger. Yes, who is he here? Tiger. Tiger stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage and on paths of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Now the line which is actually depicting here, the tiger, a mighty creature continuously moving here and there, where to and fro means here and there with his limited step. Now why, dear students, limited steps, dear? Because he has a fixed space, fixed cage. That's why the space is quite limited inside the cage. And that's why the few steps. Few steps means the limited space he has, and not only limited space he has, he moves quietly on his soft, velvety paths, mean the paws, and expressing what? His anger quietly. Now why he is quiet? Because no one is there to talk, no one is there to express, and no one is there to understand the feelings as well. Now because what happened? Now why he is angry? Why our tiger is angry? Because all his freedom. This is actually one of the most important stanzas for extract based question, dear students. That reason that why he is actually, our tiger is angry, because his freedom is locked. His freedom is quiet, yes, locked here in this cage, inside the cage, and he finds himself. Why? Because in this cage, the tiger is helpless. So if we are talking about our first stanza, the actual condition of a tiger, especially the mindset also, the mental condition also, and the limitation also described here, because our tiger is where? Our tiger is in the cage. I hope these lines are understood. Now moving to our next stanza. Now stanza 2. Now what happened? Again, he should be lurking in shadow. Now he should be lurking in shadow and sliding through long grass near the water hole where plum deer pass. Now I hope, dear students, you can get the idea if long grass, natural surroundings are referred here by the poet. So which means what? Here our tiger in his natural habitat. He has limitless space. He has his own space. That's why the lines are referring here. What? He should be lurking in shadows. Lurking in shadows, I hope you know, when tiger is actually going for prey. So in a shadow, tiger hides himself, and that's why he's just going to attack on his prey. So that's why lurking word is used here. You can keep, it's like searching, and very cautiously tiger is standing just behind the grass. So here the poet is moved to pity for the tiger. Now he says that tiger is not in the zoo. Now exactly he is where? He is where? That someone should be there in his natural surrounding. So that's why that rather he should have been in the jungle, moving quietly in the shadows near someone water sources, because here I hope you know why water source, because near such water sources animals are mostly found, and even tiger knows very well that at what time my prey is going to be there. So that's why waiting for a healthy deer to pass that way, so that he can attack, and even he can freely attack also, and he can express. He is expressing here his feeling because he is in his natural surroundings. So I hope these lines are also clear, because water holes means here water sources are referred, where even deer, bison, these are the prey animals can be found during the daytime. So that's why here tiger is lurking, tiger is hiding himself, tiger is searching and waiting for the particular place. So here our tiger is free. Now next stanza. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Now, if the tiger is fearless, if the tiger is terrorizing others, again here we need to keep that these lines are talking about a tiger. This tiger is free. This tiger is actually not, actually he's scared, even he's terrorizing others. So the lines are depicting nicely that the poet further says that the tiger should be moving around here. What is the meaning of snarling around houses? Moving freely around the houses. You know that if these kind of remote areas, if the places are there, if the villagers are there, even village also set in such dangerous areas. So at that moment they knew very well that yes, tigers can be anywhere. So yes, around the houses, at the corner of the jungle. Now not only this, what? Terrorizing the villagers with his growl as well as by showing his bared teeth and claws. Why, dear? Because I hope you can relate these words. What are the words here used for such terrorizing, if giving here the terrorizing effect? Because white fangs, I hope you know the nails here referred in then, and also his claws. So why? Because these are the things, keeping these dangerous elements in mind, often villagers, they actually got terrified with the tigers. And here our tiger is again free. Our tiger is actually, it is moving here and there freely. So keep this in mind that here the poet is talking about a free tiger. Now moving towards the next one. But he is locked in a concrete cell. So again, now we need to shift that yes, our tiger is now, here the poet is talking about the tiger who is in the cage. So, but he is, again the tiger, locked in a concrete cell and his strength behind the bars. Now you can relate this strength with that of the free one. Earlier, the tiger was terrorizing others, but now his strength, his courage is actually locked behind the bars and stalking the length of his cage. Again, what is the meaning of stalking? Here, the tiger is walking here and there. He has limited space because our tiger is in the cage. Ignoring visitors. Earlier, terrorizing the villagers, but now here our tiger, because it is in the cage, so here the tiger is helpless and not even hearing towards the visitors as well. So sadly, in spite of all his strength, because you know tiger is all about the strength, and he is locked inside the cage entertaining the visitors, nothing, because he is helpless. And very slowly and silently he moves up and down. That's why stalks word I have already told you, that stalking here and there, moving here and there. And why? Because again he has restricted area of the cage. Behind the bars means concrete cell, means he has restricted area of a cage. That's why moving here and there. This is the limited length he has. And then finally he is actually not harming and even not at all interested in visitors, as he feels quite powerless and weak. Yes, quite powerless and weak. That's it. So strengths are 4. Again giving us the view, the mental condition, the pain, reflecting the pain of a tiger, which is actually, we need to keep this in mind. This our tiger is now again in the zoo and in his cage. Now next, he hears the last voice at night. Now again our tiger, he hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant star. Now why? Patrolling, I hope you know, the continuous supervision also, such rounds also done by the officers and the workers. So what is going to happen here? The tiger knows very well he is there, no one is there to hear, and even no one is here to listen to the pain. That's why the tiger knows no rest during the day. Now why? Because it's a zoo, and you know that most of the times frequently visited by the visitors, so he was getting disturbed by those visitors. So yes, so finally what happened, because of these visitors he is not getting any rest during the daytime and even at night also. Why? Because last voice, what is that? Even at night also. What happened at the night? Even at night the remains what? Disturbed due to the noise of the patrolling cars. So these were the sounds often heard by them. All sort of tigers who are in the cage, they are not at all interested in any visitor, and they are weak and they are helpless. He keeps staring at the brilliant star. Now why? Because you know that continuously keeping their eyes on those stars and thinking about the freedom, thinking about their strength, thinking about even the condition which they had in their natural inhabitant. And that's why here the poet is saying that with brilliant eyes, continuously staring at the stars, and his eyes are also brilliant, which implies what? That the hopes for freedom someday. Yes, why brilliant eyes are referred by the poet? Because continuously tiger is actually keeping his faith alive that one day I would be free, one day I would be out of these bars. So he's keeping these sort of hopes. I hope these lines are understood. Now very important things we are going to discuss now. Rhyme scheme and the poetic and literary devices used here. First of all, if we are talking about the particular rhyme scheme, because here you need to know, students, there is particular scheme is used by the poet, which is ABCD. So yes, not only this, we have at least two different rhyme scheme in this poetry. Why? Because in this poem two are followed. First one is ABCB and next one is ABCD. So these two are the schemes used here. So keep this in mind, because extract based questions, stanzas based question, often even rhyme scheme also, this question can be asked. So keep these two rhyme schemes related to this particular poetry in your mind. Now next one is very leading device which is used here, imagery. I hope while reading the lines we have already visualized the total condition of our tiger. That's why imagery is directly used here, and even the lines, the words also, like lurking in the shadow, vivid strips, sliding through the long grass, terrorizing the village, and stalking the length of his cage. Yes, likewise we can assume that tiger is moving here and there. So these lines are giving us the picture like vision. That's why imagery is leading here. Now next one is symbolism. As in the beginning only, I told you that cage is nothing. You know that it's all about symbolizing the slavery and the condition, why the helpless condition of our tiger. By symbolizing cage and sky, Norris shows the helplessness of the tiger. This we have discussed. Now talking about the next poetic, the figure of speech which is used here in this poetry. This is what? Oxymoron. Now why? Because here you can see that two opposite words used in a phrase. That's why oxymoron is used. For example, here silent anger. How one can be silent when someone is angry? That's why silent anger, and this is where reflected in quiet rage. So yes, oxymoron is used here in these two words. Now next one, which is quite often used here, personification. Now how? Because you can keep this in mind, the tiger has been personified, that is, has been given human-like qualities. So clear cut, you know that he, lurking, going, mental condition, painful condition, all these sort of mental condition also reflected here and transformed our tiger into the person. That's why personification is also a device, the figure of speech which is used here. I hope understood. Now next, alliteration, because repetition of certain letters are also there. For example, concrete cell, okay, and should, shadow. Here S letter, C letter repeated twice. That's why here what alliteration is used, and even plum and pass also P letter is used twice. Now next one is metaphor. Metaphor, I hope you know, when complete comparison is done from the side of the poet, that's why here it is metaphor. Now why? Because on pads of velvet quite, here metaphor is used. For example, metaphor is actually here because this phrase compares the paws of the tiger or to the velvet. It's very soft here. To show the softness of the paws, here velvet word is compared. That's why here on pads of velvet, again repeating, on pads of velvet, here metaphor is used. So repetition, why? Because many times you had, I hope, assumed that stop, walk, brilliant, these words are repeated twice or thrice. That's why repetition is used, especially brilliant eyes, brilliant star. So this brilliant word is used again and again. That's why repetition is used. I hope these devices, poetic devices, including all the figures of speech, are clear, and even enjambment is also leading. Now, if we are talking about the two most important questions of this poetry, the first one is, just write down the central idea, means again, easy word, summary of the poetry. But the most important question of this poetry is, you need to write the contrast and the comparison between the two states, between the two conditions of a tiger. For example, that you need to write the condition of a tiger. It is when the tiger is in the zoo, and on the other hand you need to write the actual feeling, the qualities and the mindset when the tiger in the jungle. So zoo and jungle, these two comparison you have to state in ours. I hope this poetry is understood. Now moving towards our next one. Next, why? Because it's interrelated, talking about animals again. So here our next poem is How to Tell Wild Animals. This is composed by Caroline Wells. Now why? Because here we often get confused that some of the kids, they are unable to identify that, oh, this is tiger, oh, this is leopard, or this is lion. So here this sort of difference nicely created by our poet. So first of all, let's discuss. Yes, she was born on June 1862 and in United States, and very popular for her mystery stories, and she had written so many for books for children, and that's why very humorous poems. So finest poem writer she is, and depicted nice contrast and difference between, and even not there, means among many animals here she is going to mention in our poetry. So let's discuss everyone. Before starting this, let me give you the overview. What are the actual value points and points covered by Caroline here? The author uses very humorous. I hope I told you earlier because she is a humorous writer, adding some humor and hilarious elements also in the writing. Describes the traits. Now here we are talking about the theme. Now describing the traits of several wild creatures in the poem. She has a knack for using language that makes people laugh, and she introduces the reader to a variety of exotic creatures. Because why? Because I hope many of us, we often get confused. Oh, means this is tiger, leopard, or lion. I don't know. That's why she is just going to clarify this confusion. And such as the ancient lion, Bengal tiger also referred, ancient lion also referred, bear also referred, and leopard also referred here. So very humorously she is describing each one. So let's start the lines. Our first stanza. The first stanza is, if ever you should go by chance. Now go by chance means ever you are getting the chance to go in any of the forest area, in where? To the jungles in the forest. Where? To the jungle of in a forest. Especially here the poet is saying, because I hope many of us get chance to go to the jungle area, and if there should do you advance, means advance previously the one who is waiting for you, a large and tawny beast, if he roars at you as you are dying, you will know it is the ancient lion. Nice rhyme scheme is also used. So here the poet is talking about, here she tells us that if we ever get what? A chance to go to any of the jungles, where, dear, keep this in mind, she is talking about that if you are going to the eastern side, there the direction is east. Yes, if you are going to any of the jungles and what? And come across to an animal, means with such yellow skin, a large and tawny beast, means the large person and the large yellowish brown skin, and whose roar. If he roars, okay, that's it. Here sound denoting word is also used. So onomatopoeia is also used here. You are dying. So please, whose roar is loud enough to scare us to death. I hope you can relate, because just to sound is sufficient enough to kill us. So nicely, in a very humorous tone, our poet is saying that at that time when you will listen to that noise also, when you will hear that roaring sound also, so at that moment kindly recognize that the animal is what? An ancient lion. So here, first stanza, the poet is talking about Asian lion. And please keep this in mind, if such kind of words are repeated in the beginning, this is what? Anaphora is nicely used here. Again repeating, because see, repeated words initially here repeated by the poet, so anaphora is used here. Now moving to our next, so keep this in mind, first stanza, our poet talking about ancient lion. Next, stanza 2. Now here the poet talks about what? Or if sometime, suppose after this, when roaming round, a noble wild beast greets you. Now yes, a beast is going to greet you. That means you are going to confront one of the beasts. Then here the poet talks about an animal that is nothing of a royal chain. Now next one, with black strips on a yellow ground. Just notice if he eats you. Yes, now tiger is actually a dangerous one. So here the poet talks about an animal that is of a royal chain. Same, because after lion now she is going to mention about the tiger. So when this is going to happen, then he says, actually here the poet is saying that if sometime while roaming about you come across an animal with what? Black strips on yellow ground, means yellow skin and black strips. So just in case the tiger, here tiger is personified. If the tiger is going to kill you, if the tiger is going to eat up to you, so yes, we must recognize what? This simple rule may help you to learn what? The Bengal tiger to discern. Why? So when someone, any beast coming to you and going to kill you, going to eat you, so at that time you need to identify what? That yes, this animal is our what? Bengal tiger. So dark humor is used in this stanza because coming to you, eating to you, and after eating you can easily identify that yes, Bengal tiger is just in front of you. So yes, it's a simple dark humor is used by the poet here, because after one is already eaten up, what happened? By an animal. So can you identify? No, it's no use to recognize this type. So yes, here a wonderful humor added by our writer. So keep these lines in your mind. These are important ones. Now moving towards the next one. Now next, if strolling forth. Now if you are moving, again you are just proceeding, you are going forward, means you met lion, then you met tiger. Now after this, if you are going to be alive, then yes, you are going to meet whom? A beast you view, whose hide with spots is peppered, as soon as he has leapt on you, because leopard is what? Leaping, jumping, attacking. Here you will know it's leopard. So here, if any beast is going to jump on you, going to leap on you, then at that moment you will easily identify with such spots like black peppers. Yes, with the skin also and with the action also, easily you will identify that it is what? Yes, you are in front of, you are standing in front of what? You will know it is the leopard. So 12, do no good to roar with pain, he will only leap and leap again. Leap word is repeated. So nice repetition is given here to give a wonderful rhyming word to this particular scheme. So nicely here the poet is talking about, it's about leopard. Yes, the poet is talking about the leopard. Simply says that very casually, walking in a jungle, if we come across in any animal who has a skin with spots, now spots like pepper, and it goes so fast as it can jump upon you at once, all of it means here suddenly, it's all without any sort of warning, this animal is going to attack on you, and we must recognize this animal as a leopard. So poet says was that crying out in pain, that's why will no good to roar with pain. So it's going to be ways then that crying out in pain will be of no use, because the leopard will only keep on jumping on us. That's why leopard is the name given to this beast. I hope these lines also are understood. Now next one. Now next here, the poet is now mentioning bear. If when you are walking round your yard, you meet a creature there who hugs you very, very hard. I hope you know the hugging of the bear is the most dangerous thing. So here the poet is using and weaving this in a very figurative manner. Here, be sure it is a bear. So with this tight hug, which is actually going to be given from the side of bear, you will identify that yes, it's a bear. If you have any doubt, I guess he will give you just one more guess. Why? Because here the poet says that if while walking in the yard you will come across that yes, an animal that hugs you tightly. So with this, again identification is given here one more time. So if any animal is coming towards you and giving you a tight hug then and going to embrace you, then it is a bear. And if we want to make sure of its identity, the easiest way is that the animal will just keep on hugging and going to embrace you again and again and touch you very gently. But this act will confirm that by this you can easily identify that yes, we are in front of what? We are in front of a bear. So like this, a nice humor again added by the poet. I hope these lines are quite easy and understood as well. Now after bear, now I'm going to meet, yes, going to meet such crocodiles. Now why? Because though to distinguish beast of prey, a novice might nonplus. Now novice means such new things. Because says if you are new to anyone, if you are not knowing about the various animals, you are unable to identify the various animals. So here these tricks, these tips are really going to help you. The poet is saying like this, that the crocodile you always may tell from the hyena thus. Why? Because hyenas come with merry smiles. Here identification. But if they weep, they are crocodile. Now how will you identify this? So in this stanza, the poet says that if one is new to the job of identifying wild animals, if you are not knowing it, that how to identify this animal is actually, I don't know the name of this particular animal. So here I am giving you the idea. So wild animals, so it will be like a puzzle to identify animals who hunt other animals for their food. I hope you know about hyenas because they hunt others. So yes, the poet helps to the reader, us, by giving such distinguished details, minute details he are giving to us, especially between these two animals, hyena and crocodile. Why? Because here, as I told you, these are the most important lines. Why? Because if you want to identify hyena, what? Will be smiling. And on the other hand, because I hope you know crocodile's tear is we often use this phrase, don't shed please your crocodile tears. So yes, very fake tears. So yes, this can be your identification that often hyenas will be smiling while crocodiles will be very teary eyes and they will be continuously, they will be crying. So both of these animals are dangerous, so please stay away from them. So easy way to identify, easy way to just mention the things here nicely described by our poet. Now moving towards the next stanza, the important one. And the last one. Now last, the poet is talking about a chameleon. Yes, the true chameleon is small, a lizard sort of thing. Lizard sort of because they are quite comparison. You can identify just like a lizard, chameleon looks like. And he hasn't any ears at all. You cannot see, you cannot even recognize because it has no ears. And not a single wing also. No flapping, no. Because here you can easily identify because it has no ear, it has no feathers, it has no wings, and if there is nothing on the tree. Now why? This the chameleon you see. Why? Because I hope you know the camouflage. Why? Because here This is the speciality of the chameleon, because it takes the color of the objects, so it's not easy to identify. So again, one more identification is given from the side of the poet. So here the poet is talking about the little creature chameleon. Why? Because it looks like a lizard. As I told you, here great comparison done here. It looks like sort of means it's like a lizard, and but without any ears and wings. And the poet also tells the readers that the chameleon has, that it has the ability to change its color based on the surface of it, and whenever it sits on any surface, it takes the color. And then it must be the chameleon. Why? Because if you are finding nothing is there on the tree, so kindly keep this in mind. Definitely there would be chameleon who has changed his color into the color of the tree. So I hope these are the identification, these are the actual tips given by the poet to us in a hilarious manner, and added nicely each trait here. So to summarize it, we can even discuss this. The poet places great importance on remaining informed and having basis knowledge of various animals in case we encounter. So whenever you are going to encounter any animal, it's easy to identify, but with the skin color, with the patch, with this color, and with such activity also we can identify, because it's a humorous one. As the poet describes what? Feared animals in a very witty, in a very intellectual manner. And also makes a point that if the roar of an animal is so fearsome, because loud sound also it's fearsome, that you are afraid that you are going to die, that animal can be identified. Because that you know that about Asian lions, because loud roaring is actually the signal that yes, a lion is there just near. Now next one, also stating that here the poet makes some very mentioning the Bengal tiger. So keep this in mind. How many animals are mentioned and referred here in this poetry? So one is Bengal tigers, Asian lion. Second one is Bengal tiger. It depicts that animal had actually main aim to kill others. Yes, because talks about the black spotting, because how we can identify with the such spots. Animals, if that animal pounces upon you, then it's likely to be leopard, because leopard, nicely used. And then described what? So here our third animal, wild animal mentioned. Then described next, number 4, bear, because it's tighter. If someone is going to embrace you, identify bear is near. Next one, here finishing her with such describing chameleon, because hyenas also described number 5. Then your after this crocodile also described, and finally chameleon. Why? Because she said that it's looked like lizard. Its like word is missing, so complete comparison is done. So keep this also in mind, that without wings or ears you can easily identify, and continued by saying that it actually may change its color on the basis of the object it sits, and basis of the color of the surrounding. And finally what happened? She clarified by using such evidence that chameleon is perched on the tree if merely noticed when we look at it. You cannot even notice if, yes, very cautiously, very carefully if you are going to look, then only you can identify, because it can take the color of any object it sits. So again repeating, I told you the rhyme scheme, nice rhyme scheme is used. A very important one here, A, B, A, B, C, C. So keep this rhyme scheme in your mind, used by the poet to show the spontaneity, to show the melody, and also to express the views. Nicely this rhyme scheme is used. I hope this poem is clear. Now next, Important questions, because central idea, again the summary is quite important. And how to identify each wild animal, because you know that certain traits are mentioned by the poet. So yes, this is again your important question of this poetry. And how does the poet suggest that you identify the lion and the tiger, because yes, the contrast also given. And bear's hug, why she's using this, because why confuse the novice? Novice means the new one. If you are new, if you don't know how to identify these animals, so tight hug is ready from the side of bear. So 2020, so you know that here are certain traits refers, because if you are a human being, you have certain personality aspects. They are the beast, so they have certain personality aspects. That's why noble in one hand but wild on the other.